We started the fire.
Yes, the fire rises.
How come you don't want me, man?
I have failed this city.
Today we face the monsters that are at our door and bring the fight to them. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. This day we fight.
That's how winning is done.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friday Night Frenzy, where the topics are more like second guidelines and actual rules. I am really happy. This was a really good day for me. Please, everyone, welcome back to the studio. We have the legendary DC Comics writer, Chuck freaking Dixon. How you doing, my friend?
People of Earth. Hey, I love the intro. You got Sly and Bane in there. Awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Graham Nolan, be proud. Yeah, I actually am really proud of the intro. Trying to go for more of like a vibe, emotion kind of thing. I think it came out pretty well.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, it's like you did it. Oh, keep going.
Joining me on this crusade is Jason Ingram. How you doing, my friend?
Doing fine. You're lucky that you did it because I'd have Goose and Maverick going. I feel the need for speed at some point. But, that's just me.
Oh, dude, you're hitting the nostalgia bone right there. So Chuck, for like the two people who might not possibly know who you are, I don't think they're on this stream. For just pretend that there's people here who don't know who you are. Please introduce yourself.
I am a comic book writer. I've been a comic book writer for 40 years and full time, and quit my day job. And I've written Batman, Punisher, SpongeBob SquarePants, Moon Knight, Alien Legion, The Simpsons, just about every comic book character outside of Disney. So
Nice.
That's my thing, and I am the most prolific American comic book writer of all time.
I believe it. Because I remember in like the late 90s, you were pretty much writing all of like the Bat Family books kind of in the late 90s. You were everywhere.
I was a machine, man. So
yeah. I mean, as for myself, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious. I like you for your Nightwing run. I mean, that was seminal. Your run very much was an inspiration for my comics creature. I don't know if like when you're reading, you kind of picked up on like, hey, this looks kind of familiar.
No, I wouldn't call that out. No.
Thank you. But like you were an impact to me. You were an inspiration, and I would say Screecher is directly kind of inspired by a lot of your stuff. Nightwing kind of included. So thank you, sir. Thank you for all the stuff you've done.
Well, we all work in the shadows of the greats, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Wally Wood, Stan Lee. So, we're all doing our best here.
Do you have any Jack Kirby stories?
Yeah, I mean, I met him once. I was a fan. I was at a convention in New York City, standing in the lobby of the Statler Hilton, talking to some other fans. I didn't even know these guys, never met them before. We were just talking, and Kirby walked up to us. Said, hey, how you doing, guys? His wife and son were working out with the concierge where to go to dinner, and he got bored. So he just walked over and started talking to him.
That sounds about like normal man behavior right there. I'm bored.
Yeah. And one of the guys asked him if he listened to music while he worked, and he said, yeah, lately I've been listening to a lot of David Bowie, which kind of threw us.
Wow.
Me.
That would be like you saying you listen to Chapel Roan, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, he said that he thought that he and Bowie were simpatico because they dealt in cosmic themes a lot. So
interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I could see that. I could see that actually.
Yeah.
So
So you were coming up in comics in like an interesting time because like the late '80s kind of had to be like an interesting time for comics because like they're starting to take it more seriously, and also like the things were changing, like computer coloring was starting to come in. Like, do you remember when computer coloring was starting to come in? What was your kind of reaction to that?
Well, at first it was negative because at first it sucked, like everything computerized. You know, the first efforts are awful, but then it sort of they found their way with it. I think CrossGen had a lot to do with that.
Yeah,
basically setting the bar for what it should look like.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an interesting time because there were so many different publishers, so many different genres of comics being done. It was exploding so fast that they needed talent. So it was the perfect time to break in. If you had a pulse and could write, they took you on.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and you were like right on that wave. Like I know you're doing like a lot of really seminal Batman books in the '90s when like Batman was kind of arguably at his peak at that point.
Yeah.
Like what was it kind of like working with so much talent at that time?
Well, I mean, it was kind of like, pinch me, I'm dreaming. I mean, I got to work with, Jim Aparo, Joe Kubert, Russ Heath, John Buscema. I mean, John Severin. I mean, I was just blown away, humbled. These guys are actually drawing stuff that I thought up. And actually, in some cases, they were asking for me, like, do you have anything by that guy? It was like, whoa. And the thing I gotta say is, they all treated me like an equal. These childhood idols of mine, and they just treated me like, hey, you're part of the brotherhood.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So you kind of talked about like breaking into the industry, like late '80s ish kind of thing, and I think that's kind of the perfect segue and kind of our topic. So, how would you compare breaking into the industry then versus breaking into it now? Because it feels like two as different worlds as could be. What would you say?
Well, back in the '80s, editors came to conventions, and that's where you would meet them. Mm-hmm. And my thing was, I saw guys handing pitches, handing treatments and scripts to editors. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, because I know those are going to be left behind in the hotel room. So I would just go up and start a conversation, just try to develop some rapport. And I only ever approached editors whose comics I liked. So I would approach, Archie Goodwin, because I liked everything he did. I would have approached Larry Hama, but he never went to conventions back then. And then when I would call for an interview, like, hey, can I come up and see you? Hopefully they would remember that conversation and remember me and say, yeah, come on up. And
so networking essentially.
Yeah. And then I would pitch, but I never got anything doing that. But that's how I met a lot of these guys.
So it kind of got your foot in the door a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so when I met Archie again, when I was working, he knew me. He remembered me, and his door was open to me.
I mean, that's the way that when I was taking my business courses, that's the way it was introduced me to how to just build repertoire with somebody before pitching, hey, I'm looking for a job or whatever. That's interesting that's how it worked.
Yeah, it kind of sounds to me like the techniques are largely the same, like meeting people, ingratiating yourselves with them, kind of getting known to a person. The techniques are the same. It's just how you go about it is different. I feel, that's kind of what I'm gathering.
Yeah, I mean, it was face to face, back then. I mean, that's just simply not happening now.
Yeah, that kind of makes things a little more difficult because, like, obviously, there's like the live streams and the kind of like the back rooms kind of get noticed, but like, there's nothing kind of replaces just hey, let's go grab a coffee or a milkshake or something, just talk or whatever,
Well, and quite frankly, I mean, in the comics business, there's no grown-ups running it anymore. So even if you did happen to meet an editor, you wouldn't get anywhere because he's going to hire all of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before they were actually looking for talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say that's the saddest part of the modern comics is that they seem to be a bunch of teenagers trying to make it work.
Well, and worse than that, they're teenagers who are using comics as a stepping stone to another career, to a job at MTV or a job on Vanity Fair. Whereas when I was in it, everyone was a lifer. Everyone was in comics because that's all they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
This was the end of the road. This is what I wanted, and that's the way I felt.
DC was a mountaintop.
Yeah, and like I reached the peak. I did it, and I held on for a while. I didn't roll back right.
You
back
wrote
down.
Batman. People,
Yeah.
that's literally millions of people's life goals is they want to write for Batman, and you did it for like 20, 30 years.
Yeah, and I never tried. I knew Batman was out of the question because everybody wanted to write Batman, so I never auditioned for it. Basically, Denny O'Neil, plucked me out of obscurity to write it because he liked what I wrote on Airboy. So he wanted me to write Robin, and then that worked out. So I stayed around for 11 years.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the indie space kind of comes in, which you've kind of found yourself to be also a part of, kind of the upper echelon. Because I know you do a lot of stuff to Eric July, and that's really great. How did Horseman kind of come about?
Well, Joe Bennett and I hit it off immediately. He liked my script, and we were back and forth. I'm surprised we didn't shut Facebook down. There was so much direct messaging between the two of us, and he was sending me pages as he did them, and we're just riffing. And then he said, "You know what they need? They need a grounded reality non-superhero character like Batman or Punisher." And I said, "Say no more." So I came up with the Horseman. I described it to him. I said, "What about this?" He came up with an image, and then we went to Eric and said, well, "How about it?" And Eric said, "Yeah, let's do it. Just get started." So right after Alpha Core 1, we went right on to Horseman. And then while we were working on Horseman, I visited RIPA, and I was talking to all the people there. And when I came back, I said, "Joe, you know what else they need? They need a cosmic guy. They need a Silver Surfer. They need a Warlock type character." And so we did Zaylan.
Nice.
So,
and how is Eric like as a boss to work with? Like, he's kind of like like the I don't want I feel really weird kind of putting these two in the same way. It's the best analogy. He's kind of the Stan Lee of the Ripperverse or whatever.
yeah, but he's way more hands off than Stan would be.
Okay.
He's made way more, let you go your own way. I mean, I basically wrote the history of the Ripperverse in the Great War of Separation, and I had very little to go on. Eric only gave me like a few things, like these are the big events that have to happen, and the rest was left up to me. And I said, look, I'm just going to go nuts, and if I go too nuts, tell me. I'm fine with doing rewrites. I'm fine with pulling it back in, but they never asked me to pull it back in. I just went crazy on it. And it was all new territory, and he just let me fly.
Well, that's an interesting way to handle it. I mean, that's the problem with me as a writer is I make too much stuff. I need to narrow it in. That's my problem.
Well, I mean, that can be a problem or a blessing. Too much stuff. I don't know. That's
true.
Too many ideas, And the thing is that when you're first trying to get in, that's what you do, man. You cram every idea in your head into the work. I mean, I did that on Airboy. I just jammed that thing solid with every concept I could possibly wedge in there, because you always think at the beginning this might be the only shot I get.
Yeah.
Now that I've been doing it for a while, I kind of pace myself. Like, okay, that's a great idea. We're going to save that for next issue.
All right.
So, I guess it kind of leads into what would you say is like if you had one piece of advice to give for newer creators, what would it be?
Man, it's tough. Get some money in advance.
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago that if you're signing a contract, like any kind of contract for a big project, to say, I want $500 on signing, and you'd be surprised how many people back out right then and there. Because why? They don't have the $500, so they weren't going to have the rest of the money either.
Yeah, there you go.
The other question they ask is, you have the money, where did it come from? And if it's like it came from my mom, you run away, But if it came from, I just sold a tech company, it's like, okay, let's make some
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah.
exactly.
That $500, that's lunch money to them.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Lucky, I will make a comic book for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Because-
oh, you want me to revise it 20 times and you're paying me the same price every time? I'll revise it as many times as you want, sir.
Are you sure we're done rewriting this?
Are you sure? Yeah, that's kind of what made me a little truth bomb about me is I tried to start a business way back when, but what made me back out is the person I was trying to go into business with. I learned real fast that what she was saying and what she could pull, two different things.
Yeah,
So I bowed out because there was going to be no money and it was just going to be on me. Nope.
yeah. Well, there's the thing is, I run into that in comics, and then you run into it in the movie business even more. People, I got these great ideas, but I got no money. It's like, do you know anybody has any money?
Yeah, I got a lot of ideas, man. Like, okay, like that's
and I got a lot of connections. I know a lot of people, but you need to know more people who have money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, how many of these people are willing to sign a check?
Yeah,
very,
exactly.
very few, and they always want something in return. So
I hate to bring it up, but that's kind of how George Lucas got off the ground with what he did. He knew people with money.
yeah, no, you have to. I mean, who else would have taken a chance on that crazy stuff? I mean, can you imagine Star Wars pitch meeting? They must have looked like he grew 3 heads. They were like,
Yeah.
what? You want to do what?
I would say Star Wars, the biggest reason Star Wars got around is not George Lucas, it's Alan Ladd Jr. Because Alan Ladd Jr. was kind of like the one executive at Fox who kind of believed in him even back in the THX days. Without Alan Ladd Jr., Star Wars probably would have never came out.
No, absolutely not. Or Alien or Blade Runner, because he was the yes man on all of them. He could see it, whereas no one else could see it. And and I imagine, just from things I've seen with Lucas, he was probably terrible at pitching stuff. So Alan Ladd must have been able to see through what he was saying to get what he was talking about.
And it's a very kind of skilled executive who can kind of see through the lies of the Jedi. Sorry.
All right.
I had to. But yeah, if you just look at kind of if you watch any documentary of Star Wars, it is amazing. Like, the reason Star Wars is good is because there was people there who could tell George Lucas no.
Yep. And then when there wasn't anybody like that, it went to hell.
Yeah, like the prequels, there's good stuff in there, but a large problem is George Lucas had he was George Lucas, the Star Wars guy, and no one could I remember Ben Burtt literally had to pay him $20.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
What? Uh-oh.
I think Lucasfilm was getting mad at me there.
Did the Jedi kidnap you?
No. No. But I think Dave Filoni is mad at me right now. I'm not talking about Rebels enough.
Oh yeah, apparently.
No,
but
but Chuck, we were kind of talking about tech money or whatever. Have you ever had any encounters with those kind of people where it's like, oh, I just sold my tech company, I want to create a comic book, and then they hire you kind of thing? Like, have you ever had those kind of situations?
Well, that was CrossGen. Mark Alessi sold a tech company to Ross Perot, and he had enough money to start a comic book company and lose his shirt. There's a saying: if you want to make $1 million in comics, start with $2 million. But yeah, and then I've been involved with other people who come from tech, and one time I was working. This guy wanted to start a comic line, and he'd been one of those guys, one of those investment guys who had made a couple of really lucky trades. He was like a Mark Cuban, and he wanted to start a comic line. And as on about our 5th meeting, when he asked me how much I wanted to invest, I realized, I don't want to invest. I want to work for you. I want
you to give me money.
Yeah,
I don't want to give you money.
That's one of those situations where I want to invest 2 cents. Is that good?
Yeah.
That
Here,
would have been my response.
here's $5. I
Yeah.
was gonna buy his lunch, so here's $5.
Yeah, here's $5. I'm going to form an LLC, and you're going to give it $5. And,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that kind of thing makes me a little bit worried. If somebody were to say that to me, I'd be like,
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, especially, and we even see a lot in indie comics. Like I've seen a lot myself. Like people who like either have like a really good job, like a trades job or something else, and like they wanna make comics, and they throw around a lot of money, and they may produce one book, and then the reality sets in, and then they leave.
Well, they realize how much it's costing them. I mean, the guys at Phenom Comics, I love those guys, and they have like a family-owned business of construction equipment and stuff like that. I mean, real money, real solid Midwestern guys, and they were stunned at how much it all cost. And mostly it's because so many comic creators don't work as quickly as you thought they would. And time is money, and the longer it takes for a project to come out, the more you're out that negative cash.
yeah, that's
people who don't work as fast as you'd like. Let's just call them out, artists.
Well, yeah, but some artists, because we did a book called Hunter Ninja Bear, and that book is like 300 and some pages long, and that art team worked like clockwork. I mean, I stayed 3 issues ahead of them with script.
And you can't pay those artists enough. Like there's no money.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, they were terrific, and that's like the big book that they put out. The Phenom, the Finoglio brothers are really happy with that book because it came out. We were done when we said we were going to be done.
Yeah, it's just my thing is, for every good artist that you love, that like you work with over and over again, and you can't pay them enough, there's probably like 2 or 3 like crappy artists that you just can't get away from you fast enough.
Oh yeah, I've worked with some real losers. I mean, guys who disappeared in the middle of a job, or guys who just didn't get it, and because I was so prolific, particularly at DC, they kept giving me new guys. We're break this guy in, write a script for this guy to break him in.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, all right. I'm just in my head. Joe Kubert drew it, but I'm not even going to look at the comic when it comes out.
The price of being too good. It happens in every industry.
I'll tell you a funny story. I had an editor, and he said, that guy on the top 10 list, the Wizard top 10 list? I won't say the guy's name. And you know that guy? And I'm like, yeah. And I wasn't really that impressed with the guy to begin with. He goes, I got his brother.
Okay. Do you think talent is just like inherited in DNA or something? Like,
I mean, this guy wasn't that good to begin with. How good is his brother? Who couldn't get any work until right now.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that I know exactly where you're coming from because I have a twin brother. You would think we're the exact same. No, where I'm bad, he's even worse. He gets these great ideas. And then he wanders off to do something completely different, and then he forgets it.
Yeah. Like you look at my family, like we look the same and we somewhat act the same, but that's just because we had the same upbringing. We're raised by the same parents, so of course we're gonna have like similar actions, but we're at the same time very different people.
Yeah. My 2 sons are a night and day, man. They are so different from each other.
Mm-hmm. That's always a really interesting thing. But yeah, like I feel like any comic book creator who's kind of been around for a little while, they eventually kind of like we all have bad artist stories. Every creator has, and I would say artists have bad writer stories. Let's just be fair.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, especially writers that are like way too demanding. I had an artist buddy, and he said, "Look at this script I got. It was page 1, panel 1." This fabulous futuristic city with all these details, and there's flying cars and blah, 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 blah. Panel 2, closer in on that city. Panel 3, a little closer. I said, what the heck? He wants you to draw this thing 3 times. He says, what do I do? I said, draw a splash page. Draw 1 image.
Yeah.
It still works. I said, if he wants to be, Orson Welles, he can do it with somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of something interesting because, like, I'm a writer, you're a writer. I mean, you're obviously like so much better than me. Like, it's like kind of thing. But like, I feel like a lot of beginning writers, they come into comics, they treat it like movies. Like, and the camera slowly panned to try to replicate that with stuff. There's kind of this quote by Frank Miller that I remember. It's like, I came into comics to make them more cinematic. I stayed to make them less so.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that quote, but because you always want them to be cinematic, but you have to know how to make shortcuts. I did the same thing breaking in. I mean, one of my earliest stories, I had an artist drawing a motorcycle chase on a cargo ship, and I didn't even think about it. And then when I talked to him later, he says, I spent a week on that. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't even realize how many times you had to draw that motorcycle, and if you're not into drawing motorcycles,
then that would be boring to you or more irritating.
Yeah. Whereas, if I had said, hey, do you like motorcycles? Because,
yeah, because if they love drawing motorcycles, it's like, I live to draw motorcycles. They put, for example, George Perez loved drawing comic book heroes. So he would tell him, hey, Perez, would you like to put 30 heroes on this page? I'll put 40.
Yeah, but then the next page has an ambulance on it. Oh, I don't want to draw that. I had a guy the other day say he had this idea for a comic about a bicycle race, and I said, good luck finding an artist who wants to draw bicycles page after page after page.
Oh God!
Oh, that would be. This is coming from a non-artist. That would probably be annoying as hell to
absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. That's why I'm glad I'm with Bob Harden on the 7 Deadly Sinners. He loves drawing motorcycles and cars. I mean, that's his thing, man.
Which, speaking of which, let's kind of talk about that for a moment. I've had that link kind of queued up for a moment. Just waiting for the perfect segue here. So,
yeah, I didn't mean it as a segue. I really mean it. Bob
it
loves
works.
drawing.
It works. No, it works. I wanted it to flow naturally. I got it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I didn't want to go total pimp on you here.
No, we bought your book.
Yeah, I got the comic in the other room you might want to take a look at.
All right. Show me what you got, sir.
Yeah, this is 7 Deadly Sinners. It's from Rip Ascend, the creator-owned wing of Rippaverse, and it's a 1970s grindhouse movie. It's an outlaw biker flick about some badass bikers who come to the aid of their friend to have this giant road race against the county sheriff, county deputies.
I like that. Yeah, I get the grindhouse from that poster. That looks
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, we went to Tarantino Town and didn't come back. So
hey, I like
and
that.
not a single picture of feet in the bunch.
No.
Fun fact. So when Mia Hawke, who's the daughter of Uma Thurman, she was going to work on a Tarantino movie, she asked her mom for some advice, and Uma Thurman said to her daughter, keep your shoes on.
Interesting.
That's funny.
I mean, this is a guy that wrote a scene from Dusk Till Dawn about pouring tequila on Selma Hayek's feet and then sucking her toes and then casted himself in the part. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We should be talking about your campaign. It's just
no. It reminds me of sometimes if I was working with an artist I really liked, I would write a page that I wanted to own. This is a 120-page graphic novel, and it's Rippa, so there's lots of tchotchkes. There's 3 different versions of the poster. There's T-shirts. There's a beer koozie. There's stickers.
Nice.
So. Yeah, we went, and Bob designed all of that stuff because Bob is an awesome talent. He's unknown to most comic book artists, but he's one of the first guys I worked with in the business. We did some horror stories together at Eclipse.
Oh, wow. So he was way back.
Oh, way back.
Nice.
Way back. So.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. Yeah, I mean, if there's anything, people who back any comics, they do love their tchotchkes.
Yes. Yes. So. These are some cool ones. So, and it's a long time in the making. We started on it 14 years ago, and we're finally here. We had to run through a few publishers. A few publishers are like, "What? I'm not publishing this. It's crazy."
I don't know. If I actually owned a publishing company and I heard that, I'd be like, "Yes."
Yeah. Well, a lot of people were frightened of it. So.
All right. We got Deeple saying, "Ahoy all." How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Chuck, one thing I kind of want to ask you is, when people are trying to break in, there's a few types of like common advice. Like people are like, oh, make some controversy or whatever, and kind of piss people off. And I don't really see that as a viable long-term strategy. What are your thoughts?
No, because if you piss people off, they're always going to remember that when they see your name. I think it. You got to break in with something high concept. I mean, I see guys and they want to do, it's a 12 issue cycle and it's the ultimate battle against good and evil, and it's like, I'm thinking Axe Cop. I'm thinking you got to get something that's going to just come right out. I mean, Robert Kirkman started with Battle Pope. I mean, and that got him noticed.
Right.
You can't start with just more of the same. You got to get out there and do something, outrageous or really like super high concept. I mean, I was talking to a film director the other day, and he was interested in a property of mine, and I'm explaining it to him, and I said, I didn't really reinvent the wheel here. And he goes, no, but you put a good high concept with a really cool title. And he says, and that's all it takes. So,
yeah, that's the only way to stand out is you create the concept, and then you expand it or refine it, however you want to phrase it.
So apparently there is an issue with YouTube right now, because I'm looking at it myself. People on YouTube can't comment, which is really, really weird.
Let me plug in there real quick, see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm looking at it myself. Like, there is no comment section. Like, what the heck, YouTube?
Hey. Well, you brought up George Lucas.
No, hold on.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. It's marked as fork. Oh, okay. All right. Why? Okay, let me.
Yeah, okay. I just
Chuck,
commented.
while I go look at it, could you kind of regale us of how did you get the Nightwing gig? Please tell us all about that while I kind of work on this.
Nightwing?
Yeah.
Well, Denny and Alan Grant were supposed to co-write it. And for some reason, 3 weeks before the first script was due, they backed out of the project. And so they came to me and said, you want to work on it? And I said, who's the artist? They said, Scott McDaniel. And I had just seen Scott's work on a one-shot book called Assassins and loved it. And I said, yeah, put me with that guy. And I said, give me some time to think about my approach. And I said, what's the requirement? And Scott Peterson was the editor. He says, I want every issue to be a Jackie Chan movie, and you have to create a new city. And the new city is going to be called Bloodhaven, and that's all I know about it. You create it from there. And so that was it. So for the next 3 weeks, I worked that out, wrote the first script. Scott wasn't ready to go to work on it, so I just kept writing. And I think for the next couple of months, all I wrote was Nightwing. So I wrote the first 12 issues before Scott even started on the first one.
Okay.
So, then we were gone. We were off, And the big thing was not to make him Batman light, to make him his own character.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I always did appreciate is you made him his own character because, and the thing about Nightwing is, you're kind of not creating something from whole cloth, because Nightwing, even as a character, had existed for like 10 years by that point. Kind of like, because he was like Marv Wolfman, George Perez kind of had created that version of the character. I mean, like he had all that story. And I liked how he created his own rogues gallery. People like Torque, Blockbuster, Lady Vic, and whatnot.
Yeah, that was key. Yeah, that was key. So.
Yeah, he created his own characters, like Clancy, kind of like his like pseudo love interest. I thought that was kind of cool. I really like how you did kind of like a Mary Jane kind of esque kind of thing with her, where it's like you didn't like show her face for a little while, and it's like, is she ugly? Could like I really like that you kind of pulled that Mary Jane thing. That was really cool. Yeah,
that came about I was, you're doing something, you have the TV on, and you look up every once in a while, but you're not really watching the TV, and I'm doing something, and I hear them interviewing people on the street in Londonderry in Ireland. And I hear these girls in this Irish brogue, and I just look up, and they were Chinese. I went, whoa, So I'm going to use that.
All right,
And
so we do have a question by the chat. It
Yeah.
says, Dixon first, a few questions. If you could work with anyone in the comic industry, alive or dead, who would be your dream partner? That's a good question.
Wally Wood. I would love to have gotten to work with Wally Wood.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah, because I just do some crazy sci-fi stuff with him. So,
For me, it's probably either like Mike Turner or George Perez. God, because like Eugene Time is like one of my favorites. And then people also asked, what was the story / comic that made you fall in love with comics, that made you want to work in the industry?
it was a story called The 1,000 Strange Costumes of the Batman. And it was an old Dick Sprang, Bob Kane Batman story, probably from the early 50s. And I've paid homage to it over and over again in my career. In the Second Robin miniseries, paid homage to it. I wrote a Bartman story for Simpsons that retold it. And I wrote a Mermaid Man story that retold it.
Interesting.
So, love that story.
You're going to put something in Horseman about it?
Wow. Yeah, see, he would need a sidekick. The whole key was in 1,000 Strange Costumes of the Batman. We find out the strangest costume is like an exoskeleton. Of course, they didn't have that name for it. And Batman gets shot up by some gangsters, and Robin has to go out as Batman in this like exoskeleton suit.
Huh.
And it's such a cool story. I loved it.
Yeah. One of the things about like Batman that's kind of like a point of contention for a lot of people is there's some people that feel like Batman should always be alone, and there's some people who like the Bat family. Where do you stand on this? Like, as a person, I know I kind of have a feeling where it stands, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, initially, I liked Batman by himself. I thought Robin was kind of a silly appendage that wasn't necessary. And when I was asked to write Robin, I said this to Denny. I said, I don't know if I'm the right guy because I don't really believe in Robin. I really don't. What the hell's he need a Robin for? And then he said, well, number one, whenever there's not Robin in the comics, the sales go down.
I mean, yeah, that's key.
He said, number two, he's part of a trinity. It's Batman, Robin, Alfred. And without Alfred and Robin, Batman is just some psycho loner, and you readers lose interest in it because there's no humanity there. There's no one for him to talk to or share his thoughts with. And I said, okay, I can see that. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right, and Deeble's got one more question for us. So, lastly, for anyone interested in wanting to create their own comics, is there a resource how-to book that you would recommend?
Yeah, how-to books are a problem for me because I always find that how-to books discourage you more than encourage you. Mm-hmm. They lumber you with a whole bunch of rules and and they're usually written by people that really haven't succeeded in the profession you're looking to get into. I know there's Stan Lee, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and it's like, okay, if you can draw like John Buscema, you got a job.
The one that I recommend is the DC Comics Guide to Writing Comics, which was done by Denny O'Neil. And I'm sorry, if anyone knows their stuff, it's Denny O'Neil.
Yeah, but there's a series of books for writers that I recommend, and it's called Backstory, and I think there's 6 volumes, and in it, it's interviews with screenwriters, and I mean going back to the silent era. Ooh. And it's just and them telling the stories, talking about process, talking about the problems they had, what inspired them, and everything else. And those books make you want to write. When you read them, you're like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do what that guy did. Yeah. I want to parachute in and save that movie. And those are terrifically inspiring books for me. But they're not how-to books. They're just sort of inspiring. But you learn a lot from them. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did they pick you? And how did you work with this other guy? Just these little anecdotes.
Yeah. For me, a lot of my education was through screenwriting courses. Like I have a book called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Script Writing, and then I watched a lot of YouTube videos like Lessons from a Screenplay, where like they take famous scripts, they break down moments, they kind of teach you about the terms and stuff like set up, payoff, cause and effect, and like different writing stuff, and it's not just a rules, it's just like terms and just gives you vocabulary.
Well, yeah. Well, did you ever take the McKee course?
I haven't.
Yeah, they made us take it at DC because Denny and Archie had taken it and they became like disciples. And they said, look, go take it. And like you said, they said exactly what you just said. It gives you the language so you can articulate about the stuff. And that was the most amazing thing about it, because he would say stuff that like I've always thought, but I didn't have the words.
Like what's his denouement? You know, the MacGuffin, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, I knew some of that stuff, but the one that really blew my mind was when he said the most important thing about every character is what they want. I'm like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like, Superman, he wants to be part of humanity. Batman, he wants to do right by his parents. Spider-Man, he's trying to make up what happened to Uncle Ben. It's like, oh my God, yeah, that's all. Darth Vader wants his son to join the family business. I mean, it's like, you know,
I mean, that's the key for any human, like anything that humans are strive for in life is just directed by those words, like what they want.
right,
We want to go to the moon, so we go to the moon.
right. You know, and then you know, from all of that arises the conflicts. You know, I want to keep this money, or I want to take it away from you. So you know, that was big. I didn't agree with everything the guy said, but God help you if you ever raised your hand and did that.
Yeah,
or like the villain should always be a dark reflection of the character of the main character.
Yeah,
You know, like
Yeah.
that's why the Joker is such a popular villain, is because he's kind of the perfect. If the Batman is sanity, keeping your
Right.
sanity in check, and the Batman is the epitome of order. The Joker
Right.
is the epitome. Like that's why it's such a probably one of the most popular hero villain duos ever, is because they're perfect symmetry.
right. But I don't know if you ever saw the movie Adaptation with Nick Cage, where he's a screenwriter and he
I
takes
haven't,
the
no.
McKee course, and Brian Cox plays McKee, and McKee goes off on Nick Cage live from the stage, just goes off on it, and I'm like, I was watching it with my wife, and I said, yeah, that happened 3 times when I took the McKee course. He just tore somebody right down to the ankles.
Wow.
And sometimes you need that. Sometimes as a
Well,
creative,
these people needed it. I just sat there like, okay, all right.
do you think that's kind of something that's lacking in like a lot of modern creative circles? Is there's nobody there to tell you how much you suck, kind of thing.
Okay, let me tell you some Larry Hama stories. Larry Hama was part of the Wally studio, and he was working away, and like over a summer, he's like a teenager, and he says to Wally, he says, "You never compliment my work. You never give me any advice. You never, I mean, I'm doing the work, but I don't know how you feel about it." And Wally said, "I'll tell you when you stop sucking." And so Larry took this to heart, and when he became an editor, whenever you would come to audition or pitch to him, if you'd never pitched before, he gave you the hardest time possible. He'd say the most awful things to you. And the point was, will you come back? I mean, He told Lee Weeks over the phone. Lee Weeks called and said, I want to come in and show you my portfolio. And Larry said, I don't want to see it. It sucks. And Lee said, oh, you see my work before? He goes, nah. I can tell talking to you on the phone that you suck. And Lee told me this story. He goes, and I never went back. I said, that was your first mistake. You should have gone in there the next day and said, you son of a bitch, I'm showing you my portfolio. Larry
and even if Larry hated it, he probably would have at least respected the guy to come in.
He absolutely would have, because Larry's
your work still sucks, but you as a person, I kind of respect you, kind of thing.
Larry's thing was, if you can't take this moment of pressure, if you can't make this acid test, what's going to happen when you have deadline creep, or you have the flu and the job has to get done? You're going to fold. You're going to fold. Yeah. And the thing is, when I first talked to him, I was warned that he was a son of a bitch, and I called him. Well, he would act the son of a bitch. He's the most wonderful guy in the world. I called him, and he didn't know me. He didn't know my work. And I said, look, Larry, you need me. And he's like, what the F do I need you for? Right. And I said, you're doing a war and Western book, right? I said, most comic writers don't know which end of a gun the bullets come out of. And he goes, well, you're right about that. I said, well, I'll do the homework. I will do the homework. And he goes, you send me some stuff and we'll see if I need you. And then he bought about 6 scripts that I sent in. So.
I always love like those stories of like
Yeah.
the hard ass that everyone hates, and when you realize it's just if you do your work and you do it good, they don't have a problem with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, once I proved myself to him, he could not do enough for me. I mean, he went to other editors and said, "This guy's really good. If he says it'll be there on Friday, it'll be there on Thursday. You need to hire him." And so he's always been, terrific to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like
But
the same thing with
he puts you through that fire first, and I don't think anybody does that. They'll just, especially comic book people and movie people, there's the Hollywood no. Yeah, we love this project. We're going to get together with you, blah, blah, blah. And you never hear from them again.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do run into them again, they'll go, oh, yeah. We're going to get to work on that. No, they aren't. It's
and as soon as, they all tell you no. But as soon as that one person gives you a chance to successful, all of a sudden everyone wants to work with you.
Oh, yeah. You remember that shitty idea you showed me last year? Well, I want it now because you were part of this other thing. It's like every production meeting is the same meeting. And then they have a second production meeting when you leave the room.
Yeah. That's the way it sounds. I've heard this before, I should say, regarding Hollywood. The double talk.
Yeah, because when you're sitting there pitching, they're like, "Oh, that's great, it's wonderful. We've never heard anything like that before. You're fantastic." And then the minute you leave the room, that guy's awful. Never have him in here again. He's an idiot. And that's the way they all go.
It's because everyone's kind of afraid of like, oh, we don't want to tell off this one person because we don't know if he's going to just go walk over to the other studio, get successful, and now they'll want to work with him. He'll remember us telling us those F off. Everyone's afraid of that.
But they're not above taking the ideas you give them if they like them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They'll steal from you hook, line, and sinker. We'll call you in 3 weeks. 2 weeks later, somebody else has already taken your script and changed it. You're like, exactly. I recognize that.
Speaking of stealing, one thing I always found interesting about Lorraine's relationship to Marvel and DC is Marvel and DC have a habit of like ripping each other off. Like it's not like it's. I mean, you could say one does it more than the other. Like you can say that, but like they do rip each other off, and it's a historical thing.
Right.
And what was kind of your experience of that, like kind of from your era?
Well, the thing is, they would switch partners and dance so much. I mean, when I was at Marvel, first got to Marvel, then he was an editor there, and then he's an editor at DC. So, and same thing with Archie. I mean, it was like back and forth. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, there's that talent. And the thing is that a lot of people didn't know about DC and Marvel at the time was they all saw each other socially. They all knew each other. They had this rivalry for the kids, but behind the scenes, they were all going drinking.
So it's kind of like a wrestling work in a degree.
Yeah. So I mean, they would literally come up with this ideas, over martinis or whatever, and then both go off to work on the same thing. I mean, we see similarities all the time of what, and then also they're going to look over at the other company. Hey, this worked for them. Mm-hmm. What can we do that's like that?
Yeah, like Wolverine is really popular. Let's create our own Wolverine DC Comics.
Yeah. I mean, Moon Knight. They're trying to be Marvel's Batman. All of DC's attempts in the '70s to replicate Conan. I mean, and then it's all this Marvel guy goes, "Hey, I got this really cool guy for a character. He can't die. His name is Wade Wilson." It's like, dude. At least try the original.
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry. Like, I like Deadpool, but like, he's just such an unabashed ripoff of Deathstroke. Unabashed.
Yep.
But Hooded Raven has a good question for you. Have you ever had your stuff taken?
Well, yeah. I always like to say M. Night Shyamalan stole the ending of Signs from a miniseries that I did. The big reveal is the aliens are harmed by water. And that was like the whole concept of a thing I did called Invasion 55. And then I was ripped off by a Marvel editor. Larry Hama was going around saying, you should hire this guy. So I got an interview with the Spider-Man guy, Spider-Man editor. And he said, well, pitch me some ideas. So I pitched this story where Spider-Man is following a guy, he's tailing him. I don't know, to a kidnap victim, whatever. And he smiled. And he follows them all through the city as only Spider-Man can. But then the guy gets to the outer boroughs, and there's there's literally nothing for Spider-Man to swing from anymore.
Yeah.
So he gets down on the street, changes back to Peter Parker, and basically follows the guy on a bus. And the editor said that I only someone who would have contempt for the character would write that. I'm like, contempt for Spider-Man?
What?
No contempt for Spider-Man.
That's ridiculous.
I said
That's an interesting story. Like
I think that it's so Peter Parker. It's so Steve Ditko that you know, I wonder that nobody ever thought of it. And he goes, no, and he would never hire me. Well, 6 months later, he wrote an issue of Spider-Man, and guess what Spider-Man did in that issue?
Got on a bus and followed somebody.
The thing is, as a writer, it's such an easy story to kind of think of because you have this hero, especially like with dual identities. It's like this isn't a job for Spider-Man. This is a job only Peter Parker can accomplish. You know,
Right?
I mean, literally, just to kind of give you a spoiler. In Screecher Volume 2, I literally do exactly that. I have a situation where she's trying to tail a guy, and she like hops on the rooftops, you know, and she literally says, "This isn't a job for Screecher. It's a job for Avery Fletcher." Like, I literally do that.
Well,
I
there you
literally
go.
have
There
that
you go.
exact same scenario, and this is the first time hearing that story. So like,
Wow, ideas are a virus. Ideas are a virus.
Yeah.
Like they're out there, and it's like, you know, it's like when we were dealing with the Batman the Animated Series guys while we were doing the Batman comics, and we would watch the cartoons, and every single one of us went, "Why didn't I think of that?"
Yeah.
Because they were coming up with all this really cool stuff, you know, like little stuff about Batman's life. And I was like, "Damn, I never thought of that."
it's really interesting how much of modern Batman is shaped by that cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's what is one character that you've tried to get to work in your story but couldn't, i.e. try to use Clayface in an arc. The story just failed on the drafting table due to various reasons. That is a good question, people. That's interesting.
Boy, character. I can't think of a character. Actually, I was assigned a Clayface story, and I said Alan Grant would write a better Clayface story than me. So I turned it down, and they had him do it.
Such a legend, Alan.
Yeah. I mean, even though it was a great an artist I really wanted to work with, I'm like, I wouldn't do it justice, and Alan would kick ass on it. I did a Batman story once that I'm sort of replicating in Horseman because it never got published, and you know, they liked the concept and everything else, but when it came time to publish it, they got a little frightened by it. You know, so they never published it. But I'm replicating it in Horseman.
Okay.
So
Here's the question I have for you. What is one character you never got to work on, write for, that you wish you could have?
I would have loved to have done a long run on Fantastic Four.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I'd like 2 years on Fantastic Four, ideally with Graham Nolan. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, honestly, like my fantasy is you do a Fantastic Four story in the early '90s with Andy Kubert. That would be like one of the greatest comics ever.
Yeah, I'd like to work with Andy. I worked with Andy a little bit on Airboy. That's the only time I worked with him. But yeah, he's awesome.
He is. He's like he's probably like if you know about him, you sing his praises. But he's probably like he deserves to be in the same sentence as like Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane.
Oh wow, absolutely. There's no question about it. No
I sadly don't know this name, which that's sad on my end, but still.
I mostly know him from his Ultimate X-Men run, which probably not his best work, but like that's kind of where I got introduced to him. But yeah. And the other thing, like we're kind of rolling back to earlier stuff we were talking about. You know, the controversy versus the love stuff. You know, I like the thing that the common thing about indie creators is we can write really great stories. We can maybe even get a team together, produce a comic. But like the one thing that like a lot of indies kind of struggle with, and I will put myself in this category as well, is kind of marketing. And why do you think that is? Kind of like a lot of indies kind of struggle with that aspect.
Well, we're all in that boat. I mean, I'm gonna be quite frank. I'm here today to market. So, I mean, I love talking to you guys.
Which, by the way, but grab a copy of Seven Deadly Sinners. It's really good.
We're all in the same boat. I mean, how do you get noticed? How do you get cut out of the herd here? And nobody's helping you. Nobody's helping you.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, well, go on social media and here's the 10 rules for going. Yeah, screw all that because none of it works. I mean, I'm on Facebook every day with Graham Nolan. We're either private messaging or we're posting on each other's pages. He did a project and I didn't hear about it for 3.5 weeks. He was posting every day, and I didn't. And you guys have all run into this where you're shadow banned, or they're slow walking you, or they're doing something, or they have their hand out. They want money, to help spread the word, and then they don't spread the word anyway. So we're all down to our email lists, and I'm not able to get my stuff in front of the public any better than you are.
Yeah. I've had people on my social media who they follow me, they comment on my stuff, they like it, and it's for a solid year. And I start talking about wait, you do comics? I didn't realize you did comics. Now that could be a failure on my part because it used to be I do my comics, then I just go back to meme posting, for a while, but whatever. But it's always kind of interesting.
I mean, back in the message board days, you could push stuff easier. I mean, I started a message board in the 90s only to bring my titles closer together, basically to brand name myself, to bring my, make sure that Birds of Prey and Robin and Nightwing all sold about the same amount. And it worked. I couldn't do it now, but it worked because I had an enormous audience on my message board that I can't get in social media. And no one was slow walking me. Nobody was shadow banning. You saw every post. So I had Peter David and Kevin Smith come to my message board to fight with one another.
What?
They were arguing about. I can't remember what they were arguing about, but they were both arguing on my.
I would say Peter David in the 90s was kind of that one person arguing there because Peter David had a lot of those didn't he have a legendary debate with Todd McFarlane?
Well, I wouldn't call it legendary. I would call it really silly, but I was there. But they had one.
Okay.
I think Todd took his shirt off, and Peter wasn't making much sense either. So
I don't know. I like what Image done. It's just I think history tends to look upon them a little bit too favorably because if you look at the original Image, the only character that actually made it was Spawn. The rest of them just kind of got forgotten about. It wasn't really until Kirkman came in The Walking Dead that Image really got solidified as a legit company, in my opinion.
Yeah, they were the kings of the world in the 90s, and they squandered it. They really they could have changed comics forever, but they just went for cash. Except Eric Larson. He seemed to really love what he was doing.
Interesting. I never knew that little backstory. Now that I do.
And love or hate Eric Larson, the fact that
love it or hate it, but you can't
still
deny.
doing Seventh Dragon to this day, that.
Yeah, the guy's into it. The guy's into it, whether you like it or not. He's into it, and he's he's a consummate professional doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Todd, but he can just be a little bit too full of himself sometimes.
You got to put the stalker question up.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Have you ever had a crazy stalker, and was his name Todd McFarlane? Sorry.
I had this guy. And he used to show up to New York cons, and the only thing missing was a machete. I mean, this guy would pull up a chair opposite me. He wouldn't stand in line. He would pull up a chair because he was going to park himself there for a while. And he was always covered in a sheen of sweat. And he would always ask me these really pointed questions and demand accurate answers. Not only that, but if other people were in line talking to me, he would correct them. Oh. And he would quote interviews I had done 3 years before. And I'm like, oh.
And when was this?
This was this is probably 93, 94. And then I didn't see him anymore. I assumed he was stabbed to death by his cellmate at some point.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chuck, real quick, I'd like to introduce you to my other co-host. He usually kind of comes in a little bit later because he's responsible. He's got a job. Welcome, Anime Night.
Hello.
Yeah, so anime night, we have in the studio, we have the legendary Chuck Dixon, who's basically been doing comics longer than I've been alive. He's worked on like pretty much all the classic characters. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but say hello.
Hello, Chuck. A wonderful honor to meet you.
Well, good to see you as well, or almost see you.
Yes, I just see an A. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, I had
Yeah, I'm the only one in the group that doesn't have a camera. That's bad, but it is what it is.
We love you anyway, Jason. We love you anyway.
I'll be right back. I have to go to the restroom, apparently.
Yeah, I just threw on. I was still in my work shirt. I'm like, nope, not gonna do that. Switch.
I want to know how he went to the men's room. Apparently, was he informed he had to do that?
Chuck,
I'm sorry.
I mean, I get it. I'm a writer myself. I'm kind of like my mind is tuned to those kind of things as well. So
Jason, it's time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean
No. It was funny. So Huda Raven's like, I know a different field. Have you gotten to work with Todd McFarlane?
A buddy of mine really needed work really bad, and so I penciled a pinup once in Spawn, so that he could ink it. And then I gave him the penciling, and I said give him all the money for it because Todd was paying big money for pinups.
Oh,
so that's the only time I got to work with Todd. I mean, Todd's a great guy. It's just I'm not complaining about Todd. It's just I just wish that he'd hired like actual writers.
Well, I think the one time he did hire an actual writer,
right.
That writer kind of screwed him over, with the Neil Gaiman situation.
Well, so, I think there was a mutual screwing over going on.
Fair enough. Like, if you actually look into the details of the lawsuit, like both sides are acting, kind of like dickbags.
Well, Todd hates contracts. Todd hates paperwork. Todd did not want to give him a piece of the characters he was creating, and that's the problem there.
What do you have there, Enemy Night?
This is probably one of my most prized possessions.
Ooh.
I got to I got this last year at the convention. I got to meet Dan Reba. I got to meet Kevin Altieri, and I think Alan Burnett, who
we were literally talking about him earlier. No, that was Alan Grant. Sorry,
cool.
Got my Alan's wrong.
I got to meet them, and they were so much fun. That's why me and my co-host Joker on my show, we've been pushing people to be like, hey, go meet the creators at the conventions, meet them, support them.
Yeah.
They like it when you come to them and talk about their work with them. They like that.
Yep. Yeah,
so
we do.
that kind of gives me a good kind of question to talk about. So yes, very, very beautiful. Thank you, friend.
Support this man, please.
Yes. Chuck, as a before I get into my question I was about to ask, as a person with Red Screecher, what did you think?
I thought it was fun. I thought you did a female character well. No Mary Sue there. It seemed natural. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I like the character, and that costume is great. And what I like about the costume is, once readers become familiar with it, she'll be recognizable by her silhouette, which to me
that was the kind of the point.
It really makes a character when you know them by their silhouette.
Yeah, like I actually did a tribute cover for Dark Knight Returns, which the one with the rain. That had her in silhouette, and it came out beautifully.
That's I said that on X once, that a great character should be recognizable, and people are like, well, you got a silhouette of the Hulk. It could be the Red Hulk or the Gray Hulk. I'm like, come, are you serious?
Oh, fluff off, fluff off, you sons of beaches.
I'm sorry, but if I'm going to use Batman as an example, it doesn't matter what suit he's wearing.
Right,
you're going to recognize it. That's Batman, unequivocally.
Yep. All right, here's the tribute cover. I am very proud of this. So shout out to Brian Q. He's the artist who drew issues 1 through 3, and then he had to kind of leave, but we stayed in contact. Forrester did issue 4, but he came back and did this cover, and oh my god, did it come out good!
That is cool.
we were talking about silhouettes. Like, yes, you
Yeah.
can tell it's Dark Knight Returns, but like the silhouette, it's Creature, you know.
Very
And
cool.
I this cover is so good. I'm so proud of how this tribute cover came out. Yeah, and like we're still working on Screecher. I'm putting out a trade this summer, working on volume 2. Some of the stuff's coming out really good, but this is not about me. But knowing that Chuck Dixon likes my comic, that is like a very big badge of honor.
You got to mark it. You got to mark it. You got to mark it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now I remember what I was going to talk about. So, Anime Night was holding up the Batman Return. So, as a person who was actively writing Batman comics while Batman the Animated Series was going on, how was your relationship with like the with those kind of people? Like, how did it affect? Like, was it like, hey, look at the stuff they're doing in the animated series? Can you integrate that in the comics? Like, and also like Harley Quinn kind of coming in, kind of thing. Like, what was that like at the time?
Well, they never actively said, "Hey, can you use these in the comics?" But if we saw stuff we liked, I mean, Harley Quinn really didn't take off for us in the '90s when we were doing it. But when I saw Condiment King, I called and I said to Denny, "Can I use him?" And he goes, "Well, Paul Dini created him." And I said, "Well, let me call Paul." So I called Paul and I said, "I want to use Condiment King, but I want your permission." And he said, "You don't need my permission. Warner Brothers owns it. I don't own any of it." I said, "Yeah, but I still want your permission."
It's a respect thing. It's a respect thing.
And he said, "I would love it if you would make him part of the continuity in the comics." And then I did the same with Lockup because I thought that was a great character. So there's a lot of that. And then, eventually Harley Quinn, because of the comic book, the animated comic book, obviously used her first. And then she kind of eased into the rest of the continuity.
Yeah, because like her first appearance in comics was a dark Batman series tie-in comic. I can't remember what her first like official one is. I think that wasn't.
I really can't remember. I know it wasn't. It really wasn't in my era because nobody was in a hurry to use her.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like, and I know the other kind of big villain that get integrated was Livewire. That's from like Batman the animated Superman animated series. That one also
yeah.
And also but yeah, it's really interesting because
there's a lot of cross-pollination going there because I mean we were doing stuff like Graham and I rebooted Firefly and then they ended up using him a number of times in Batman and Superman.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so basically the modern version of Firefly is based off of like your interpretation. Kind of thing.
Yeah, because the original version of Firefly he's the lamest character imaginable.
Really? How so?
Yeah, he had like this red and green and brown outfit, and he had FF on his chest. And he was
Fantastic Four.
He was a Hollywood special effects man, and he would use special effects to confound the Batman. It was like so lame.
Oh, man.
Firefly, he should be a pyrotechnics expert in film, which I made him. And I said, and he should be a pyromaniac. He's sexually attracted to fire, which they always tried to get me to downplay, but I always subtly let you know. Yeah, this guy.
Are you saying he's pyrosexual?
Yeah. Well, that's what.
Well, give credit to the Arkham games for actually sticking with. They actually made a very good Firefly, so I was very happy. I'm like, okay, this is how Firefly should have been. Because I liked him in Arkham Knight and I liked him in Arkham Origins. I thought they did fantastic with both iterations. I'm like, okay, this works.
and I would argue that like every version, like I think you created them like basically every version of Nightwing that has come since is based off of your iteration. I think you kind of like it's just it's like every it kind of like how the modern version of Venom is characterized by the animated series version, not the comic book version.
Right.
I think your version of Nightwing kind of like solidified who Nightwing is because like they're still always putting him back in Bloodhaven and just like I don't know. The thing that always attracted me to Nightwing was his relationship with Batman. It was very much like a father and son. Like he like the thing that I grappled onto is Nightwing wanted to be his own person. He wanted to take himself out of the shadow of the Bat and like he didn't necessarily hate Batman, but like he wanted to be his own person. and that was kind of stuff that like as I could relate to that as a kid a lot, and so that's what really makes me love Nightwing, and that's you.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, there's always this period where you act like a butthead, and what it is you're separating yourself from your parents, you know.
Yeah.
And but you're an adolescent, you're too stupid to put it into words, so you just act out. And then that's kind of Nightwing. He just wanted to be his own guy.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we'll maybe see like a version of Firefly in Horseman? Because I think that would be interesting. Kind of like do like a Horseman.
Well, I've got a character. His name is just Billy Bob, and he's like a natural, not like a Human Torch, but he can manipulate fire.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a bit of a loose cannon. So I've used him a couple of times.
Well, Deeble says they can't wait for Alpha Core 3 and Horseman 3. Let's kind of talk about Alpha Core a little bit, because like, what was kind of your inspiration for that? It's kind of like a team book. Like, where were kind of your headspace?
Well, they said they're super cops basically, and they're part of the Forest Park Police Department. And I thought, well, okay, what's the relationship here going to be like? And the police department, the administration is going to look at them as blunt force, and they're not going to want to be looked at like that. They want to be looked at as real cops. They want to do detection work. They want to be involved. They don't want to be just the uh-oh squad you call in when the shit hits the fan. And so they're like trying to be more like the rest of the police department, even though obviously they're separated by the fact that they could fly and energy lashes and things like that.
Yeah.
So they're trying to be cops. And a lot of that, a lot of conflict rises out of that in the upcoming stories, where things in Forest Park get kind of political. And, like in the real world, you have some politicians turning on the police department, looking for any excuse.
Interesting.
To shut them down. So, and they want to shut them down because, I mean, if you've read Alpha Core 1 and you lived in that neighborhood, you'd probably want to shut them down too.
Yeah.
Are you going to have a hashtag back the core?
Oh, what?
Hashtag back the core.
Yeah.
Like back the blue. Hashtag back the core.
Are you for them or against them? But a lot of guys in the police department resent them.
The thin green line. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just shit talking here.
But yeah, I just dig the logistics of it. I mean, they gave me this book where they have this flying police headquarters, and I immediately crashed it because I love the idea of like it's going to take a while to get this thing airborne again. And what are the ramifications? Because they caused a lot of destruction in Alpha Core 1.
You broke Eric's toy.
That's it. So I'm sort of like, these next arcs are like getting them back to square one again. And of course, then I'll just tear everything apart all over again.
I mean, that's just writing in general, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the fun part of doing something. That's kind of where I'm. In my novel, I've got these characters that are magic, but I mean, anything could break it easy, or they could break anything easily. And if they make everyone hates them, how are they going to move? What are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to, nobody wants to read a story where everything goes right. So,
So, do you find it more interesting? LOL, break more of Eric's toys. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I brought that in, especially with Horseman. I don't know what the toys you broke with Horseman. I'm not sure I want to know, but like,
yeah, Horseman. That's a continually deconstructing plot line. That guy can't catch a break.
So
Peter Parker feels sorry for this guy.
Oh, that is low. Wow. Peter Parker's like, man, I don't even have it that bad. But do you find it more interesting as a comic writer to write an ongoing series with no indefinite end versus a series with a definite end? Like, okay, we're going to get like 12, 20, 32 issues. And so you have like structure the whole story around this definite end. Or do you like doing like just going on forever kind of thing?
Well, I think if you look at my track record, it's pretty apparent. I like staying on things till the wheels come off. I mean, there's nothing more fun than working on a long run on a title with and you're on it till they take you off. You're on it till you screw it up. And being able to build that world and build those relationships and doing these plot lines, there's always, the plot line is starting, the plot line is in the middle, the plot line is resolving itself. And just building all of that. And then, if they have enough faith in you, like if sales start to go down and everything else, you go, okay, well, I'm going to change this. I mean, I sent Tim Drake to boarding school because the sales
Mhm.
starting to go down a little bit. I thought, let's change things up, send him to boarding school and create all kinds of new complications for him. So that stuff's neat. I mean, I love doing it. And then making callbacks and references to previous stories. I mean, one of the most fun things I ever got to work on was I did a detective arc with Graham and Eduardo Barreto, where the mystery was the criminal was traveling through time, and Batman had to figure out, oh, he's committing these crimes in reverse, right? By our way of looking at it. By his way of looking at it, he's just going back in the past, committing this crime. So why is he doing all these things? And then Dan Jurgens asked me to write a 2-issue arc of Booster Gold with Batman. And I thought, I'm revisiting that story. And I got to revisit that story and like completely turn it on its head. And that was so much fun.
So that, you know, long runs are always fun, but like eventually you got to kind of wind it down and hand it over to the next artist, next writer, next person. What is that like? Because like obviously with your Nightwing run, you kind of handed it over to like Devin Grayson. Like, do you have meetings with the writer that's coming in? Like, is there some sort of transition?
Well, at that point, I was with editors who were indifferent to what was going on, so I was kind of on my own. Robin, I just sort of I just left him in a good place, you know. And then Nightwing, generally the same thing, except if you recall, Tad and the character with his head on backwards,
Torque,
go into a room and there's gunplay. And I said to Devin, I said, whichever one you want to live, you pick. I mean, I'm off the book. It's up to you. You know, one of them killed the other. It's up to you who died. So, and then that's really where I left. And Birds of Prey, I think I just left them at the end of an adventure. Just left them in a good place.
And then Gale take over after that.
It was Terry. Oh God. Yeah, I can't remember his name. He did Strangers in Paradise, the comic Strangers in Paradise. And he took over for a while.
Yeah.
And then and then it was Gale.
Okay. So I genuinely like Devin Grayson stuff. I thought she was a good follow. Like, obviously you're my favorite on that, but like I thought Devin was a decent follow-up. One thing I gotta ask you about is, I'm sure you're kind of aware of like the one issue where like she kills Blockbuster, like where Tarantula shoots him and like Nightwing's all kind of messed up about it. Yeah. What's your opinions on that issue? Do you think that was a good call, bad call? Do you think it was handled poorly?
Yeah, I really don't. I really don't follow stuff after I'm on it. You know, it's like watching. You know, it's like, you know, you drop the kids off at McDonald's to go off with their new dad. You know, you're not going to follow them. You know, it's what they do at the zoo. You know, so I don't really. You know, I like Devin, and I thought she was going to, be faithful and play fair with the characters.
I think she did. I honestly think she was pretty fair. Were you involved with any of like the No Man's Land? Because like that was like a big storyline back in like '99.
I was involved a little bit because me and Doug and Alan had been fired off of the Batman books, and but I was still around, because I had Nightwing and Robin.
I think you did some of the Catwoman books around that time as well. I think
a little bit, yeah. I was like the utility Catwoman writer.
Yeah, like you were basically writing all like anything that wasn't Batman had your name on it around like 98, 99.
Yeah, because Catwoman was like, we're looking for a new writer, but Jim needs scripts, so I would jump in and write 3 or 4 scripts, and then and then it would happen again, and then happen again. So I was like a utility guy. The same thing on like Young Justice when Peter David was having a Hollywood adventure and was missing deadlines, so they had me jump in. But the No Man's Land, DC's a weird place, man. DC had all these secrets and mysteries, or why can't you do this? And we, why can't we do that? It was
bad embargo.
There was an agreement in the 70s, and you can't use that character.
Yeah, just like how every discussion about Smallville or any TV show in the 2000s inevitably comes up to bat embargo because we can't have Batman on Smallville or whatever.
Well, it was like every Bat Summit we would ask, can we use the Wrath? No. Why not? Oh, there's an agreement made and you can't use it. What the hell? And so this stuff would go on and on, whether there's these There were other characters we weren't allowed to use. Creeper. They give us. Graham and I were dying to use Creeper.
You would have done a great Creeper story.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
And they were like, "No, you can't. Why not?" Well, there was a thing, and the real.
He showed up in the DC like Justice League Unlimited, I believe.
Yeah. So we get to No Man's Land, and my editors are talking to me about it, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to have a summit, but you can't come because you were fired off the back titles." I say, but I'm still going to be reflecting it. I'm writing Robin,
I'm writing Nightwing.
I mean, I wrote part of Road to No Man's Land. I mean,
Nightwing is kind of like a core book in DC at the time. Like it's probably, I think, number 2 to Batman. I would imagine.
So they said, no, they I don't know who they were, say you can't come.
Oh.
And then I find out Bob Gale's going to be part of it. Bob Gale and Larry Hama, and I can't be there. I can't be in the room.
Sounds like somebody had a grudge.
Yeah, it's like 2 of my favorite guys, and I can't be in the room.
Some things never change. Like there's Whisper we all talk about the Whisper networks now. It's the same thing with shit was like I wouldn't be surprised if there was Whisper networks in the 60s of comics.
So Scott Peterson, he calls me and he says, just call Denny. You got to call Denny. You've got to be in that room. Call Denny. And then Jordan did the same thing. And finally I got a hold of Denny. I said, come on, Denny. He's, no, you can't be in that room. And he hangs up. 5 minutes later, Scott says, next Wednesday, be at such and such a building, 6th floor, room such and such. I'm like, I'm writing this down. Okay. And then I show up there, and that's where the summit was. But nobody told me about it. Nobody told me to be. I just happened to be in the hallway.
So apparently, it just had to be like the one person nobody could say no to give the okay.
Yeah. But officially, I was never there.
Oh man.
We just did all our research and none of the vote people said Chuck Dixon was there. I don't think that's something you would lie about. So
no, he was not there.
So speaking of fighting for things, Hooded Raven says, was there ever a situation where you had to really fight tooth and nail to get something to work? I think probably a situation or a character or a plot decision or whatever.
There's stuff I pitched that they just would never do. I read about at LaGuardia Airport, there were people stealing bags, carry-on bags. When guys would go in the men's room and sit in the stall and you hang the bag on the door.
Yeah.
People were reaching over the door and stealing the bags. And I thought, I want to do that Punisher story. I want the Punisher sitting in that stall with a shotgun across his knees. First hand that comes over, he just blows them away. And they were like, we'll never let you write that story. I said, that's the ultimate Frank Castle.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the ultimate Punisher thing.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, AM Night.
Chuck, if you do have a chance and everything, I will buy the comic.
Please tell me you're going to do it. Please, okay. Please tell me.
I will personally show up in person.
Yeah, I got to admit, I don't want to toot my own horn, but that story would have been legendary no matter who wrote it.
Exactly.
So please tell me you've done it in a Levon Cade book because
he's not the same as Frank Castle. I mean, Frank Castle will go through the newspaper and go, "Oh, here's an injustice I need to go take care of," but let's not leave on Cade.
Because I just want in Levon Cade 2, I want Jason Statham in an airport with a shotgun be like, "Come on, mother ducker." Can we just talk about so Levon Cade's kind of like you're kind of like I think you said your Punisher stories you can never tell.
Yeah, it scratches some of those itches, but Levon's not driven the way Frank Castle is to just go out and look for scumbags to blow away. They just sort of come upon him. So
one thing I want to talk to you about, and I did message you when this happened. So you got a Levon Cade movie with Jason Statham, which is pretty freaking awesome, and your movie beat Snow White at the box office.
Yep.
How does that feel that you kicked Disney's ass? Like, seriously, not many people can say that.
Nope.
Like Snow White, one of the marquee Disney properties, with
Right.
hundreds of millions of marketing behind it, and you just kicked their butts.
We did it with our silly little Jason Statham shoot 'em up. We did it. So,
I wondered what beat that movie. I wasn't paying attention to it at the time. I was like, this
This
movie's
guy
gonna
did.
fail.
This guy
yeah,
did. This
it was
guy did.
number one that week. Just kicked the crap out of her. So,
Good. That's all I can say about this. Good.
Please tell me you opened like that 80-year-old bottle of scotch that you've been holding for like a very special occasion. You're like, there's never going to be more of a special occasion than this. Get the $10,000 bottle of scotch.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that was a weird couple of weeks. So,
Oh man.
Like that is an accomplishment that like it is like on the list of like greatest things you've done. That's on that list.
Yeah, that's on that list. I'm sorry. I knew that movie was gonna fail hard. I just didn't know who they failed to. Good job.
I believe it was The Working Man, right?
yeah, it was a working man. Yeah. So,
Please tell me there's talks of a sequel.
yeah, we're talking about a sequel, and his latest movie didn't do very well. So I think there's going to be even more talks of a sequel because it did well enough at the box office beyond beating Snow White. I mean, it reached the 100 million mark globally, but then on streaming it went monster. It went absolute monster, and it probably earned triple that on streaming. So
yeah, no, that's
definitely a sequel.
That's where a lot of the hits are coming in now. It's yes, the movies at the theater, it's important, but what it does after the fact.
It's the 90s all over again. Movie fails the box office, and then a rental that does really well becomes cult classic. I mean, it's the same thing, just different ways.
Well, it's like you guys aren't old enough, but in the 80s, the video stores, Eddie and the Cruisers was at the theaters and bombed, went to the video store and killed, and so they made a sequel because they couldn't make the tapes fast enough. So it's the same thing here. They looked at the streaming, and it's Amazon anyway. I mean, that's all they care about anyway. So exactly. They're definitely going to do one. It's just in Hollywood, it takes forever to get anything done.
Well, Hollywood, you drop an idea. Well, I'm using the 90s as an example because it's what's on my mind. You drop an idea in 93, and then they come back at you in 98, and they go, okay, remember this idea you gave me? We need it now.
And I think that's kind of been the problem with streaming recently is because, like, with TV, we're used to getting, like, a new season every year, and then all the Hollywood people came into streaming with, like, a glacial pace. Like, all right, Wednesday, really great show. 3 years later, do season 2. Now they've all got plastic surgery, and they all look really weird, and the writing's off, and then the show just dies.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people have said this. No movie gets made until they schedule the carpenters and electricians, because now they're spending money. Now they're burning cash. So then that's the only reason the movie gets made is because those people are driving it forward, not the directors or screenwriters or producers.
No,
but the guys stringing wire and nailing boards together.
Yeah,
like, oh, the gaffer's been hired. The movie's official now.
There you go.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened. I hate to bring it up, but that's how people knew the Harry Potter TV series they're going to be doing on HBO or wherever they put it. That's how they knew that was really going on, is because then when they were building the sets and all the construction workers were doing their thing, that's when we knew it was real.
Yep. Otherwise, they'll just talk and talk and talk.
Has waiting ever killed any of your projects? I just gotta say, Chet, you're asking some really good questions today. Please keep them coming.
Ooh.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I mean, it just, they just sort of forget about it and move on. But for my own personal projects, I'm trying to, get them out there, get them done, get them completed. But movies and comic book publishing.
Yeah.
Things just wait. Like I did that. I did Justice Riders. It was a Western version of the Justice League, and I had 2 sequels I wanted to do, and they just slow walked them until they just didn't get done.
Oh man, that stinks.
Yeah.
So let's say, like, in 2075, let's say you're still alive at that point.
Oh God,
they do a Horseman movie. They do a Horseman movie. I mean, that's kind of the joke. Let's say they're casting now, and for some reason they cryogenically freeze this actor for 2075. What actor would you have play the Horseman now?
Oh man, like of anybody who's ever been?
Or who's currently active in Hollywood at the moment?
Oh, it's currently active.
Let's say a Horseman project starts moving forward, and they ask you for ideas about who would you want to play them right now.
Man, I'm never good at this. I can't think of anybody who's in the right age. I mean, you always want to say like Chris Pratt because I want to make a lot of money. Put Chris Pratt in it.
All right, then let's kind of expand it to any actor who's ever lived. Like what was your dream casting or whatever for Horseman?
I really can't think of anybody. I'm not good at this game. I'm not good at this game.
I know.
Like let's say like Clint Eastwood in his prime.
Obviously someone like Clint Eastwood, someone more vulnerable because Hector's a bit of a screw up. So you need somebody with some comedy chops as well.
Oh yeah.
I could see an '80s Michael Keaton kind of pulling that off.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's Batman, but like I don't know, I don't know.
I'd have to think on that one because when I was thinking about Levon Cade.
Bruce Willis. Die Hard era Bruce Willis. Perfect.
Yeah, he could do it because he could screw up and still be the hero. But like Levon Cade, I wanted Lucas Black in my mind. That was my fantasy of Lucas Black playing Levon Cade because he's from Alabama. He's got the accent. He was just the right age.
Okay.
To play him. But I'm never when people go, who do you want to play? I don't know. And when people go, oh, this guy's going to play whatever, Incredible Man. Oh, it's terrible. It's horrible. It's like, let's wait.
Well, my pick for Screecher is McKenna Grace. She was the one who in the Ghostbusters reboot, like she was the girl in that one, and then she was like the Sheldon's rival in Young Sheldon kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that was my biggest worry on A Working Man was who was going to be cast as the daughter. And I was like, please don't let them cast some sassy American actress. And they didn't. they perfectly cast her.
What did you think Jason Statham did a good job as?
It was Jason Statham. It's not the book. It's a movie. I understood that going in. He likes playing him. He wants to play him again. So I'm not going to argue with Jason Statham.
Did you ever have any meetings with him, conversations with him?
No, I worked through Stallone on all of this stuff because he wrote the original screenplay that Ayers rewrote.
Oh, speaking of which, so you did an Expendables comic. I remember you did that. How was that like? And is it how is that adding to the Expendables lore essentially?
Oh, that was fun because I worked off the screenplay, which is a lot different than the finish. I didn't see the movie. It was a prequel. I wrote it like months before the movie came out, and I worked off the screenplay. And the screenplay is so much better than the end result. But as Sly said, they hired a bunch of ex-wrestlers who couldn't remember lines, so he had to rewrite everything. But it got me work with Sly because he read the comic and liked it. And he said, you really got what I was going for, and you really captured their voices. So, he brought me in to possibly do rewrites on Expendables 2. It didn't go anywhere. But he kept remembering me, and he got me work doing web content for Lionsgate. And then he got me a job to write dialogue for an Expendables game. So,
I think you'd write an amazing Rambo comic. I'm just going to say it.
Well, I did write a Rambo. Through Splato Comics, I did First Kill. It's Rambo in Vietnam. It's his first tour in Vietnam.
Oh, so, wow. I need to get that comic.
Because, knowing, Chuck Dixon, Rambo seems like a perfect character for you, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love the... Well, the thing is, with Splato... I was talking to Sly every time he did a Expendable sequel. He called me, and he said, "I hate the screenplay, blah blah," and we would just talk about it. What you could do if they would let you, and all this other stuff. And he said, "Well, the movie I want to make is Expendables Go to Hell." I said, "That sounds cool. What's that about?" He goes, "They all die and go to hell."
I said, "I'm literally shooting their own. Not today, Satan."
I said, They're never going to let you make that. He goes, "Oh, I know."
Oh,
said,
dude,
I mean, maybe as a comic.
That's what I said. I said, it'd be a hell of a comic book. And he says, "Well, if you can make that happen." So I called Richard.
I know exactly what you did there, and I love it.
I called Richard, your boy Zach, at Splato, and I said, because he's the biggest Expendables fan in the world. Nobody knows more about the Expendables than this guy. And I said, I'm going to tell you something, but you need to be sitting down. Seriously, sit down in a chair. And I explained this to him. I said, we're going to do an Expendables comic. Expendables go to hell. And Sly, we've got his blessing, blah, 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 blah. And he doesn't really have a reaction. And then after like 15 minutes, he goes, wait a minute. You don't mean a comic like the Expendables. You mean the Expendables. I go, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And he goes, oh my God.
I'm sorry. I'm going to be you for like the 15 minutes. And they're going to do this. And they're going to do this. And they're going to do this. Wait a minute. You're actually talking about the Expendables?
That would be like someone coming who's like, hey Nick, just got off the phone with Disney. They're giving you they're letting you write a Tron comic. No, not like Tron, but actually do Tron. Yeah.
So he said, it's a good thing I was sitting down. So we put it together. By that Friday, we had a logo, we had artwork by Graham, and then I did the script over the next couple of weeks, and we did the comic, and he loved it. So then like a year later, I'm like, let's do Rambo's first tour in Vietnam, and Richard's like, yeah, let's do it. So I go to Sly, can we do that? Yeah, go ahead and do it. So
that is cool.
That was that. But and it's funny because we got on Expendables, we put out the crowdfunding thing, and we got a cease and desist letter from Millennium Films.
What?
You don't have the right to do this, right? So I forwarded,
yeah, we do.
I forwarded the letter to Sly, and he's like, I'll take care of it. and we never heard from them again.
The fuck you say? Yeah, Sly definitely seems like somebody who's involved, who definitely knows what they're talking about.
No, he's an awesome dude. He's an awesome guy, man. I mean, 5 minutes after meeting him, we were talking like old friends, finishing each other's sentences.
Yeah, all the Sly stories I hear are kind of like that. But
just a great
Raven,
guy.
His question is about the opposite. What's your opinion on people who claim they never looked at the material at all, but they're still directing it? Like the people who are like, who they do a Spider-Man movie, but like, I'm not a fan of Spider-Man. I've never read a Spider-Man comic in my life. You see a lot with like video game adaptations, but we're keeping it strictly comics.
Well, yeah. You mean strictly comic? We're just going to talk about comics or the movies or what?
No, like directors who. Yeah.
Well, that's like David Koepp, who supposedly wrote the first Spider-Man movie. I remember an article where he's bitching and complaining about writing a Spider-Man movie. They won't let me do this. They won't let me do that. They won't. Yeah, they won't. They don't want you to go away from the source material. And he's complaining. And he has this fantastic assignment. He's complaining about how stupid he thinks it is. And of course, he hands in his script, and they can't use it. Even though he's credited. So they bring in. Can't remember the guy's name. He wrote the second one. They brought in a guy. He wrote Kramer versus Kramer. Right. He's 78 years old. And Raimi says, look, this is what I need. And he gives him what he needs. And not only that, he goes on and he writes what I think is the
Alvin
best.
Sargent.
Alvin Sargent. Then he goes on to write the best superhero movie in my mind ever made, Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, so this guy got it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't want the assignment, don't take it. If you don't love the material, don't take the job.
I think one thing a lot of writers need to understand is sometimes you're just a hired gun. Sometimes you just need to put your ego out of the equation and be like, I am hired to do this job. Okay? Do the jobs within the parameters out. Do it to the best of your ability. But you are hired to do something within this box. Operate within this box. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and if you I don't know, if you remember when you went to see Spider-Man at the theater, and most of the audience are normies. They don't know this story. Right?
Yeah.
And I love that story. But, I don't know if it's going to translate to a movie audience. Apparently, Sam Raimi had faith it would. And I'm in the theater, and when Uncle Ben dies, the audience is torn up. They are torn up. Same way I was when I was a kid and I read that origin.
But, I think a lot of that is Chris Robertson's. Just it gives one of my to me the thing that sells it is they're in the car, they're having that argument, and he said Peter says that thing. And you can just see the look of defeat I don't know how Cliff Roberts does it, but he gets like so small. He's like,
Yeah.
I'll pick you up at 6, and then kind of thing. And then when that happens, like Peter, it's like you feel bad because and you can see Peter's in his face, knowing that's what I love about the Spider-Man movies, the original ones. And this is why I Tom Holland's an okay Spider-Man, but the thing I like about the Raimi ones is they get the emotion, they get the heart of the characters.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like it's high melodrama. Yeah, it's a little bit corny and everything else.
I mean, comic books are melodrama anyway.
Exactly, but
you could write the Bully Maguire one into a full comic, and it would sell. Peter Parker doing all of that in Spider-Man 3, that is comic book worthy. I never understood the criticism. I thought it was perfectly timed because it's like, you know what? This makes sense. It's supposed to be goofy, and it feels like it's something out of a Spider-Man comic. And that's what I get out of that. I'm like, you know what? This works. It does work because it also because he's influenced by the symbiote. He has that arrogance and everything, and that ties in also perfectly on the emotional aspect. Sorry.
Yeah. And, it also, I mean, you got to lean into that, and that's where the wheels came off at both the DCU and Marvel, especially Marvel, when they began to mock the material. It's tongue in cheek. We're kind of making fun of it. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's killed the last.
That's kind of why I think Invincible works, but The Boys doesn't, because Invincibles is kind of like it's a loving homage to superheroes, but they're also doing it kind of earnestly. It's I don't know if you've have you read or watched any of the Invincible?
No, but I know what you're talking about. It's like impersonators, guys who do impressions of celebrities and stuff. They always say you don't do an impression of a celebrity you don't like, because it's not going to come off right.
Yeah, and that kind of always leads me to the advice that I always give to writers is you got to write with passion. If you don't love what you're doing, it's going to turn out like crap. I love Screecher. I love telling Screecher stories. You love Batman. You love telling Batman stories. You love the Punisher. You like telling Punisher stories. And that will show up in the quality of writing.
Yeah. I mean, I always had a nightmare where they assigned me Firestorm. I'm like, please don't make me write this.
Oh, okay. That's actually leads to a good question. What are certain characters to where if they were offered to you, you would actually turn them down? What characters, what big name combo characters do you think you could not write?
Well, Firestorm is the one that's my bugaboo. X-Men. I couldn't write X-Men. Okay. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it justice. I couldn't do what they would need me to do because I don't like them. I think they're a bunch of whiners.
Oh, okay.
So, I wouldn't write them well. Oliver Queen was one I was I think they were afraid of me writing Oliver Queen, but I think I did him justice. I think they thought that I would mock him too much, but I didn't do that.
I think the problem with a lot of writers when they go to Green Arrow is a lot of bad writers think he's just Batman light, which he's not.
No.
There's a lot of similarities between the two, but Oliver has a lot of stuff, he's kind of like, what if Spider-Man was Batman kind of thing.
And Oliver, he's a hound, and he's going to go with those instincts. So that's the way I wrote him, and he's a little too, swashbuckling. He leaps in before he really should think about it.
Yeah, the Arrow Flintness of it.
Yeah. I kind of want to say he's more like and I'm only saying this because I know very limited info on this. He's more of a actual 1300s Robin Hood story, because those are nothing like what we get. He's a thief, but
he's Inigo Montoya. He's Inigo Montoya, basically.
Inigo Montoya. That's very good. Very good. He's Inigo Montoya.
Yeah.
Would you kind of support that kind of comparison of Inigo Montoya and Oliver Queen?
Yeah, and that's without thinking about that character, that's kind of the way I wrote him. Is it's just what naturally led to my conclusion. It wasn't mine; it was editorially driven. They wanted him dead. I thought, well, he's going to he's going to end up dead because of a woman.
That's Oliver Queen.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, any other character they would ask me to write that I didn't like, I just wouldn't. Because I like to think I can get into the head of anybody. I mean, when I wrote Simpsons, my favorite character to write was Lisa, which was weird because I never thought that would be my favorite character.
That's interesting.
But she's the heart of the show. She's the only one who's really actually intelligent, thinks about things, has common sense, and doesn't run entirely on emotion, except when it comes to like political issues. And I would get in the most trouble with Bongo over Lisa scenes because I wanted to take that all the way.
Were you working with Bill Morrison on those comics?
Yeah, he was the editor.
Yeah, Bill's a friend of mine. We do a lot of.
Oh, okay. When he left, they fired me. They fired me and Sergio Aragonés, which,
that sucks.
I was okay because they fired Sergio too. If they just fired me, I would have felt bad.
Yeah, Bill does a lot of the conventions in my area, so like we talk a lot. He's a sweetheart. Awesome. He's a great guy.
Yeah, but they would cut me down on some of my Lisa gags. Because I would make fun of her bleeding heart liberalism.
Oh man!
I had a scene where they're in the Amazonian jungle, and she comes across this construction team using bulldozers, and they're tearing the jungle down. And she starts lecturing them in the middle of the Amazonian jungle about the ecology. And while she's lecturing them, the jungle grows up behind her.
Oh gosh!
I can see that in the actual Simpsons cartoon actually taking place. I can actually see that.
Here's one thing I kind of want your thoughts on. So this is a Batman question, and I consider you like an authority on Batman and whatnot. There's kind of like this war between like the Bruce Wayne and the Batman portion of it. Like a lot of writers kind of ignore Bruce Wayne entirely. Like the Batman kind of treated like Bruce Wayne as a convenience. I think that's kind of the things like if you could do an entire Spider-Man story with just Peter Parker, you can't really do an entire Batman story with just Bruce Wayne. Like, what are your kind of thoughts on that dichotomy?
I did an entire Detective number 711. I only remember the number because our editor insisted it begin in a convenience store.
Oh my God! Oh, thank heaven! Oh, thank heavens!
And it's all Bruce Wayne. And he manages to solve crimes and save people and everything else without really ever anybody noticing it was him that did it. That was a lot of fun to work on. And I loved writing Bruce Wayne. And I loved writing him as a separate character and showing how his Batman personality could be used in his personal life. I loved writing I would have him like at board meetings. And everybody's like, who's this idiot? We know he's the money guy, but we don't have to listen to him. And he would act bored, or he'd be like, balancing a golf ball in the end of a golf club the whole meeting. And then at some point, he would ask a question, not make a suggestion or anything else, but just ask a question that no one else at the table had considered. But he'd ask it in such a way as like, I'm just an outsider. I don't know why it is this way. And it would make them realize, hey, yeah, that is something we need to think about.
I love like though that kind of like soft glove approach it's really hard to write those kind of characters who they rule with the soft glove. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: like, if you were to describe Bruce Wayne as a character, what's your interpretation of Bruce Wayne as a character? Batman being removed from the equation, or just whatever.
Well, I'm not. This is no great revelation, but Bruce Wayne is the disguise. He's the one pretending to be someone else. And that's it. He's a calculate. I mean, when he's with other people, he becomes a different person. He becomes this persona of the sort of disaffected. If you've ever met anybody with a whole lot of money, I mean, they have a different personality. It's like time doesn't matter to them. Nothing really matters to them. Is lunch going to be ready on time? That's about it. But then there's the persona of him interacting with Alfred as Bruce.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different dynamic because I would often have them disagree. Alfred is eventually going to give in, but he's like trying to talk sense to him. Like, that's not going to work.
To me, one of the most, it kind of speaks to like, to me, one of the most interesting visuals of a superhero is they're in the costume, but they have the mask off. Like some of my favorite shots of any superhero is like Batman. He's in the bat suit, but he's not wearing the cowl.
Right.
You know, so he's like, so it's kind of like a kind of like he's like he's not quite Batman. He's not quite Bruce Wayne. You know, it's kind of like this middle ground. Like he's not the Batman persona. You know, I always find those very like those whenever characters are out like wearing their costume but have I always find those very interesting shots.
No, I love those scenes too.
You know, or like Spider-Man. You know, like he's doing his stuff, but he's got his mask off because like Peter Parker's like the exact opposite of Batman, where it's like Spider-Man's the disguise. You know, but he's still Peter Parker. You know, kind of thing.
I love the Spider-Man scenes where Peter's in his room and he's got the gloves and the boots off and the mask off, and he's just like, doing his homework. You know?
Yeah, and I love those scenes where like you have a superhero. Like for example, I love the shots of Spider-Man where he's like just Peter Parker, but he uses his web shooter to like shoot something. You know, like I've seen Amazing Spider-Man, or like he's on the roof with Gwen Stacy, and like he uses the web shooter, bring her towards him, and like Emma Stone does like that perfect twirl into his arms. Pure cinema. Sorry. I don't know. I love those, or like, you know, when they're using their powers.
Right.
You know, like Wolverine, you know, just like a cheap t-shirt and he's using his claws. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of, I always find those to be really interesting. Or like you said, using their powers for destiny. Like one of the most famous Iceman moments is from X2, where he's like, you know, uses it to cool down the drink. Yeah, I love those.
Right.
Oh, Jason, we lost Jason. Oh, he's back. Oh god.
For a split second. I should not have turned on my feet heater, I guess. Well, really, it's a space heater, but I use it to heat up my feet because it gets too cold.
So, like, I've talked about kind of like stuff that I kind of like. What are like some comic book shots that you find interesting?
What do you mean in general?
Like situations, like I talked about, like with the mask off, or you know, using your powers for civilian matters. Like, what are some stuff that you like to write? Like, what aspects of superheroes you find very interesting?
I always liked associating the Punisher with junk food because there's no one to tell him to eat right. You know, he doesn't really care. You know, he doesn't. You know,
cereal is bad for you.
Yeah, he's not gonna. You know, you're not gonna talk to Frank Castle about his cholesterol. You know, cholesterol will kill you. So will a bullet to the face. By the way, please feel free to steal that. Please steal that. Yeah, but I like, you know, I like those, you know, everyday normal scenes, you know, and not like writers do them now where it's, you know, 20 pages of them all at Starbucks. But you know, those little scenes, those little interstitial scenes of them. I used to like to write Spoiler and her mom. Stephanie and her mom scenes, you know, and Alfred and Tim Drake scenes. I love them.
I love Spoiler as a character. I don't think she gets enough respect nowadays. But yeah, like what's your kind of opinion on Spoiler? Like what do you see her as a character?
I see her as the, you know, she's the cut rate superhero. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of money. She rides around on a used dirt bike because that's all she can afford. You know, you know, it's kind of the Peter Parker thing. Made her own costume.
Yeah.
You know, and I just, of all the comic book characters I've created for the big two, she's the one that's like most alive in my mind. She's
so
like
you're the creator of Spoiler.
Oh yeah. She was created as a plot device. I just said, what if Cluemaster had a daughter who kept going around messing up his clues? You know, she told the Spoiler, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did it, and then letters start back when we got letters. Letters came in. When are we going to see her again? Not are we going to see her again? When? Yeah. And I thought, well, let me think about her. And I thought, well, you know, her and Robin would have something in common. They're both teenage mass vigilantes. Let's explore that.
And you know how in the early 2000s where like they made her Robin for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And then that kind of led to the War Games arc. What do you think about how, like, I feel like they kind of did her character dirty in that like sequence?
Yeah, that whole thing pissed me off from beginning to end because that was one of the reasons I left DC, because I was pitching this thing where Tim Drake decides he's had it with being Robin. He's like, I'm not a good fit here, you know.
Yeah.
and he gets an offer from Ted Kord to be the next Blue Beetle. And so Tim leaves Batman, becomes the next Blue Beetle. And it was such a good fit because if you remember, Tim was more into tech and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Becomes the new Blue Beetle for the length of a 6-issue miniseries. And Batman makes Stephanie Robin during that time period. Invites her to be Robin during that time period.
Batman has a very hard like one of the things I love about Batman is he has a very pro rebound Robins. Like Jason Todd was a rebound Robin.
Yes.
And Stephanie is kind of a rebound Robin as well.
So
it's very weird to say like rebound Robin because like it's not like a relationship, but like I don't know, like you kind of write Batman and Robin like they're a couple, but they're not a couple,
right?
In ways, and like I always love like Batman being kind of jealous, and like Tim like Jason Todd being the rebound, But yeah, Stephanie was a rebound Robin.
But the thing is that my pitch was you'd get a killer 6-issue miniseries that sell like gangbusters.
Yeah.
And you lift the sales of the Batman titles because you got Stephanie Brown's Robin for a while. Mm-hmm. And then everything goes back to normal. They wouldn't do it until the minute I left. And then they made Stephanie Robin, but they didn't like the Blue Beetle part, so they left that out.
Yeah, I think they like they had Tim, I'm trying to remember correctly. They had Tim stop being Robin because his dad asked him not to be, so he quit being Robin. So Stephanie did it, and then the War Game saga happened, and then Tim was involved and became Robin again because of it. And like I know in like the latter half of the 2000s, like post Batman RIP, they had her be Batgirl for a minute, and I think those issues actually did well. Yeah, Stephanie's always a very interesting character in my opinion.
Yeah, and just to keep griping because I'm a freelancer, I'm allowed to do that. They made a Stephanie Brown as Batgirl action figure, and I called them because I didn't see it on any of my royalty statements. And they said, "Oh, well, that was just an alternate version of Robin or Batgirl." And I said, "No, it was an alternate version of Stephanie Brown." But they hold the purse string, so I never got anything for it.
Oh.
So Stephanie has to be either Stephanie Brown spoiler or Robin for you to get royalty checks. I
think so. I think that's the way it would go. But that's why you got to keep an eye. That's why I get side eye when I'm in the Target toy aisle. But hey, I'm looking for checks.
Yeah, as would I'm afraid.
Yeah.
The thing that I love is, like, you're kind of a controversial writer in some sort. Like, why do people hate you? I don't like you were like the nicest guy. It's just because you don't toe the political line. Like I've spoken with writers. Like you're like this big taboo among left-leaning circles.
Yeah. I can't tell you. I mean, people told me that worked at DC and Marvel. I brought your name up, and they said if I did it again, they'd fire me.
But they're more than happy to reprint your stories.
Oh yeah.
Like there's that Nightwing Compendium series, which I gotta get those. I gotta get those.
Yeah, they really don't have much choice. They got to reprint the stuff. But yeah, it was just my personal politics, which I never put in the work. So what difference does it make?
Yeah,
it's like with Orson Scott Card, like he's such a homophobe or whatever. It's like. But like if you read his books, there's nothing really there.
Yeah, I mean, he goes, I gotta say, I read Orson Scott Card's opinion and stuff. I was like, whoa, but it doesn't appear in his work. So what difference does it make?
Yeah, Ender's Game is one of my favorite books of all time.
As long as he's not like biting the heads off of chickens. I mean, you hire the guy.
I hate to bring this guy up.
I mean, is Orson Scott Card in the Epstein files? I don't think you're in the Epstein files.
No.
Headline: Chuck Dixon not found in the Epstein files.
It's one of those
and the thing I always got to point out, who also was in the Epstein files? Michael Jackson was not in the Epstein files.
Oh, of course not.
Of course not.
I'm sorry, but that is just getting the biggest prop my ass because like everyone mocked him for decades, and it turned out he was like the one person not doing it, and in fact he was actually saving them from like. I'm sorry, it actually makes me angry.
Well, I mean, you guys.
And that's the closest we're going to go to politics. That's as close as we're going to go to politics here.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants to
I understand and I accept this, but one of the things you bring up all these people that had these hot takes, This is how I'm going to say this. Everybody loves H.P. Lovecraft's work, but they don't realize that he is one of the most vile people you could ever meet.
Oh yeah.
They know it. One of the jokes is, "Oh, you love H.P. Lovecraft? Go look up the name of his dog."
Yeah, exactly. His cat. It was his cat.
Okay.
Yeah, it was his cat. His cat had a very. It's the N word, which we cannot say on YouTube, but
Right,
that was the name of his cat.
No gamer words. No gamer words here.
No gamer words here. I'm not going to do that.
Oh
But
gosh.
oh man, but they praise him for whatever
that's
weird
like
reason.
that's like Willa Cather, who was a novelist at like the beginning of the 20th century, and they glommed onto her like in the 90s because they thought she was a lesbian, and they thought she's wonderful because she was a lesbian. She was ahead of her time. She was everything else. And then 10 years later, they found out she was a staunch Republican who wrote all kinds of things against Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And now it's like, we hate her. Get her out
J.K.
of
Rowling. It's first thing with J.K. Rowling. Like, they love
J.K. Rowling. Yeah.
And that's why I think there's such a visceral hatred of J.K. Rowling, is because all these people that are like the most toxic people around her, they secretly still love Harry Potter. You know, because it was like such a core part of their childhood, but they cannot mentally reconcile with the fact that like there's this thing that's like a core part of their being. It, you know, like I'm sorry, like, there's a lot of people I love. You know, would I agree with them? Like, for example, if I talked to J.K. Rowling, I probably wouldn't agree with half the stuff he said. You know,
right?
I would imagine he's probably a nice person to talk to, but and I'm sure there's a lot of people where like, you know, I'm sure if I met Johnny Depp, you know, it's like, oh God, it's so frustrating, get me out of the room with him. You know, but like, I still respect the body of work. You know,
we gotta separate the artist from the artist.
Yeah,
from the art,
exactly.
Because it's like if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have any music to listen to, because musicians are, you know, it's a bunch of sappy whiners.
Like, for example, I like Green Day's music.
Yeah.
If I met Green Day, I'd probably punch Billy Joe in the mouth.
Well, it's like
probably, allegedly, in Minecraft. Sorry.
You know, you're watching a movie and somebody says, you know, that actor beats his wife. It's like, I don't care. Why are you telling me this now?
Tom Cruise is probably a creepy mother effer, but like, I like The Last Samurai, I like Top Gun.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, that's not what I'm watching for. It's like they entertain me, they're clowns, and then they go away. You know,
would I leave my niece in the same room with Kevin Spacey? Hell no. Would I watch a movie with Kevin Spacey in it? Probably. He's a good actor.
Yeah, because somebody will say, "Oh, you know, he's a perv." I said, "They're all pervs."
Yeah, okay, I know he's a perv. I'm not going to be around him. I'm not leaving my wife alone with him. Okay, that is good information to know, that if I ever meet them, to get the hell away from them. Now, please, I want to see a ticket to their latest movie.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with the villain from Seven. Horrible guy.
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. Right. Kevin Spacey. Horrible guy. Love his movies.
Yep.
Hate the actor.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can do it.
Yep.
It's like I love Tom Hanks, you know, but like he's in The Files, and I'm not gonna lie, it's making me look at his work a little bit differently. But you know, I don't know. It's like, I think the thing is when you have an actor that was marketed as like wholesome, you know, kind of thing, like Bill Cosby.
Right.
You know,
right.
yes, I know he was innocent, but I'm pretty sure he did at least some of that stuff.
Oh, well, yeah, the thing that bothers me about Bill Cosby is they go, oh, he gave drugs to women and had sex with them. Yeah, in the 70s. He gave them Quaaludes. You know what? They wanted those Quaaludes. I grew up in the 70s. They wanted the Quaaludes. They didn't care what they had to do to get them. So
it's like half the women that bemoan the casting couch. I guarantee you, most of them plop themselves on like they could not wait to plop themselves on the casting couch and pull down Harvey. Okay, no. We're stopping that. We are stopping that.
Banhammer.
I'm gonna hit you with your own hammer, Nick.
Okay.
Please grab your hammer and hit yourself in the face with it.
I go a little bit too far sometimes. I had to stop myself. Like
now.
Okay. Yeah. So we're over the 2 hour mark. So Chuck Dixon, you got 7 Deadly Sinners.
Yep.
Going right now. For those people who are still around, could you please tell them about it, and we're gonna kind of share that again. We shared it earlier, but we're gonna do it again because we want to help you succeed more.
Yeah, Seven Deadly Sinners, 120-page graphic novel by me and Bob C. Harden, and it's a 70s grindhouse movie on paper.
Nice.
It's the biker movie they should have made back then, and it's just lots of wild action and partial nudity and all those things that made 70s movies so very, very special.
Yes.
So, not safe for the kids, but you'll have a blast. And Bob is
definitely safe for adults.
Yeah, Bob is just such an incredible talent as a cartoonist, and I know that you will enjoy it.
All right. So we're gonna wrap up here. Tomorrow we're gonna be playing some Mass Effect. Please tune in for that. Chuck, if you could hang back a little bit, I need to ask you some things. But this has been Nick from the Phoenix Press. Thank you, Chuck, for being here. Thank you, Anime Night. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Hood Raven. Thank you, Deeple. As always, I can only show you the door. You don't have to walk through it.